without a speckle of any kind of hesitation in my voice. I can say with a guarantee, no matter what you are doing, IPMAT, JEE, kuch bhi karo, read karo. He asked me to justify not having a girlfriend AceIPM in 11th grade and 12th grade, which were my initial years of study. And even after taking a drop year, I enrolled into AceIPM again. Oh, I love the marathon sessions. I cannot praise them enough. I ended up doing the trigonometry section of prep 4 different times. यार ये पूछा नहीं सोचा नहीं सोचना पड़ेगा एक सेकंड. Can I have a minute to think about it, sir?
Hello everyone, welcome to our series of Toppers Talk. Again, this year we have an All India Rank 6, Pratyushraj with us. He's going to share his journey, how did he prepare for IPMAT, how did he crack it. And the most important aspect, what you need to hear is, he was a full dropper for IPM, and many of you would be struggling to decide should you take a drop or not. And so let's answer all these questions from our All India Rank 6 this year. So hey Pratyush, how are you? And how would you introduce yourself to students, and then let's interact about everything about your journey.
Absolutely, I'm doing quite well. For my introduction, my full name is Pratyushraj Singh Chauhan. I scored 236 in my IPMAT Indore 2026. I am a full dropper as mentioned. I had 90 and 91 in my 10th and 12th respectively, and 200 in my first attempt in IPMAT 2025. So we can go on from there.
So you scored 200 in your first attempt?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then you took a drop?
Yes.
Quite, contrary, you must have gotten into some college, right? So one of the things that even I am not able to answer well is, how do you even decide to take a complete drop for a particular college? Like, how do you make that decision? What were the aspects that you considered? How did you balance it out, and how did you come to that decision?
Well, the primary idea that I had in my head was the fact that compromises had to be made. In life, no matter where you go, you're going to have to make a compromise. For me, I was breaking it down into 2 compromises. Either I could compromise in my career/college. I was accepted by IFT Kakinada and IIM Sirmur. So at my score in 2025, I was getting these 2, although excellent colleges, not the colleges that I wanted to go to. On the other end, I could compromise by taking a drop year, preparing myself, working on myself academically and more holistically as well, and possibly get into the colleges that I really wanted to get into. So I balanced both of these options out for myself, and I decided that the drop year would be the one that I wanted to pursue.
Fair. And so the score did change, right? But it means that you had to prepare for another year for IPM.
Absolutely.
Right? So what did you change? Like, one of the things that people are really confused is that I did really well in my first attempt. I did so many things, but didn't make it, right? So what happened, or how did you shift it from your preparation earlier? Was there even any change, or did you prepare similarly? What happened?
It was very different. The night and day. Although the numbers aren't too far apart from each other, what was very different was how I approached the exam itself. In my first attempt, it was more about the questions that I could do. जो दिख रहा सामने हो जाएगा तो हो जाएगा, नहीं होगा तो next question देख लेते हैं. In my drop year, I took a lot of time to refine my strategy in every single section. Essay is different, MCQ is different, VA is different. All 3 of them have different requirements, different understandings. So I took out the time to understand what worked best for me, how I wanted to approach every single section, and how I could maximize my score irregardless of whether it was a difficult, easy, medium level of a mock.
Okay, fair. So let's also talk about when you started your prep, right? As far as my understanding goes, you started your prep really early. In 11th, you joined AceIPM, right? And so what happened? Did you prepare throughout the time period of 11 to 12? Or if not, what did you do there at that time? What were the mistakes that happened? One of the common things that I ask students is, why don't you first sit down and analyze your mistakes that you committed in your first attempt,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And that could be the very good starting step for you to actually fix them. Like you mentioned, the fact that कि question solving के वक्त पे आप थोड़े से जो हो रहे थे वो करते जा रहे थे, जो नहीं होते थे वो छोड़ देते थे, right? So what other mistakes that you can introspect and highlight, so that that could be a very good starting thing for students also, and they can also analyze their mistakes.
Oh, okay. Biggest one. The massive mistake that I made was in 11th, I wasn't a dedicated student at all. I had a lot of extracurriculars. I was the vice head boy, slash head boy of my school. I was doing all of these other things outside my home, even at my house. And I never ended up getting the time to study for IPMAT. I could have, but I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. Now, coming to my drop year, what I really understood was the thing about motivation. A lot of people say कि motivated नहीं feel हो रहा है, or even within the drop year, यार motivation कहाँ से लेके आएगी? The truth of the situation is you're not going to be motivated. I wasn't either. There were many times that I woke up and I thought, यार इतना time तो पढ़ ही रहा हूँ, छोड़ देता हूँ. The point is you're not supposed to be motivated 100% of the time. You're going to be motivated maybe 50, 60, 70 at best. The other times, you do it anyway. That's not motivation, that's dedication. You have to ensure that you're able to perform irregardless of the kind of space that you're functioning in. So that's the biggest learning that you can take away from my failure in my first attempt, and possibly a lot of other droppers who are considering, taking IPMAT once over again.
So amazing insight, show up every day. It's always gonna be about that. So if you prepare it for throughout, even if you're in class 11th or 12th, or even if you're planning to write IPMAT again, right? It's about showing up every day, and that's what he's talking about, right? No matter how uncomfortable I'm feeling, no matter how I'm not even motivated, but I have to study. That's what my job is right now. That's how you deliver or achieve anything in your life. So a great point that I really like this insight, right? Show up every day. That's the discipline or dedication is what creates a difference, and that's why he got an all India rank 6. Such a big achievement from his preparation from one point to another. Let's talk about how did your preparation was respective to each section. And before even I talk about the section part, and another point is another thing that I'm really scared of is what I fear that students will be under a lot of pressure. क्योंकि जब ड्रॉप होता है ना कि यार एक पूरा साल डेडिकेट कर दिया, तो वो मेंटालिटी वाला चीज तुम्हें प्रेशराइज करता था. तो कैसे आप, अगेन आई अंडरस्टैंड कि यू आर अ वेरी स्मार्ट पर्सन, स्कोर 200 इन द फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट, वेरी डेडिकेटेड आल्सो, बट ये मेंटालिटी वाला चीज के बारे में थोड़ा बता सकते हो कि हाउ डू यू कैरी योरसेल्फ थ्रू आउट द ईयर? देयर इज जस्ट you completely taken a drop from your education and then preparing for an examination.
Pressure is insane. I remember in my first attempt as well, I got 200. I missed the Indore cutoff in the MCQ sectional. It was because of pressure. During my exam itself, I felt that pressure. I got nervous, I felt anxious, and I could not perform up to my own capabilities that even I was doing outside and during my mocks. During the drop year, the biggest factor is एक साल पूरा इसके लिए लिया है, and अगर ये वापस अच्छे से नहीं करा, whether that be an exam, IPMAT or any other exam for that matter as well, तो मैंने साल क्यों बर्बाद करा? Over there, the biggest understanding that you have to do is you kind of don't have a choice. You can be nervous. Nervousness is normal. Everyone is nervous. It's not a unique thing. But can you naturalize yourself to it? So what I used to do is mocks. Endlessly do mocks. By I think I was around 50-60 mocks in total when I actually ended up giving my IPMAT exam. And because of that, what ended up happening was that I was exposed to very easy mocks. So I have to also thank AceIPM for this. The highest mock I ever had, 263 marks, was an ACE mock. The lowest mock score I ever had was also an ACE mock. That allowed me to understand different questions, different environments, how I would feel, how I could maybe underperform from my expectations, sometimes overperform. I used to go to my friend's house and give mocks from there. So I had a friend and I went to his house, and in the background he's watching his cricket match and he's yelling at the team. And background mein I'm doing my question like, bhai thoda sa shant, actually mat shant ho, aur chila. And I used to turn off the fan in my house, give a mock. So doing random things like those exposes you to an infinite number of combinations. Eventually, you're not going to stop feeling nervous. You're just going to get accustomed to it. And the moment you're accustomed to being nervous, it doesn't matter anymore. You're going to perform how you're supposed to perform. So that's all on pressure.
Impressive insight. Like, get accustomed to that. That's just what it is, right? So I'll take the same analogy of my preparation as well. A lot of times when I used to write mocks, I used to think that this is my actual paper, and if this is the worst scenario I could be in, how would I prepare? How would I perform in the actual paper, right? And when I actually went for my competitive examination, it truly felt like, हाँ ये तो mock ही तो है, क्या ही हो जाएगा? मतलब ऐसा नहीं लग रहा था कि all of a sudden I'm in an uncomfortable place, right?
Yeah.
So get accustomed to it. The accustomed part is something that you can practice from day one when you're writing a simple test itself, right?
I'll wake up at 6 a.m. Then 15 minutes of newspaper, 2 hours of quants, some matcha time, then more advanced maths and quants, one mock test, and then din bhar padhai.
I've been waiting on this.
You just woke up at 1 p.m.
Introducing AceIPM's Toppers Batch. So no more procrastination and useless plans. Just daily targets, structured like classes, and actual progress.
Let's come to your sectional wise preparation.
Yes.
What is your insight? People really look forward to scoring something, a rank that you scored, right? So how did you focus on what was your time deliverable to both sections, Q and VA specifically, and what was your overall strategy with respect to the paper?
So I had 36 in my essay, 50 in MCQ, and 150 in my VA. Now the biggest problem for me was the essay section. I was actually expecting 50, 52 above, and 36 was a shocker for me as well. A big insight that I have to give is no matter how much you prep, no matter how dedicated or undedicated you are, every single person can make silly mistakes. Going into the exam, I could do trigo, I could do log, I could do all these really difficult concepts, and I messed up addition. There was a question, I added the numbers wrong, I inputted the wrong answer. Another question, I got the correct answer and I ended up putting in the wrong number. So because of silly mistakes like those, I still lost marks, and that can happen to anyone. So it's really important, I think, that all students, irregardless of prep, keep a massive eye open for that happening. In terms of sectional preparation, I think essay is where you go crazy. You attempt everything whether you understand it or not. When you're giving your mocks, you need to try to understand why and from where this question may be coming from. If it's a very difficult, long-term question, you shouldn't attempt it first. I think you should look at easier questions that can give you free marks. And then in all of the remaining time that you have, go back, look at the concepts, look at the ideas that you formed, maybe the concepts that you've learned, maybe some of the questions you may have done before. There's no problem with doing a question incorrectly in essay because there's no negative marking. MCQ, however, presents a different challenge. 30 questions, 40 minutes. There's going to be very few, if any, people who's going to be able to touch every single question. And you're not even supposed to do every question. There are some questions that I know my sister, who's in 6th grade, could solve very easily. There are questions that I know some people who give JEE struggled on. Why are you going to do the JEE question when you can do 6th, 5th grader questions? So for MCQ, for me, one of the strategies that I had to learn was, rather than going one question by one question, attempting and then moving on, I opened the question, looked at it, nahi hoga mujhse, moved on. Because of that, within the first 15 minutes in the actual paper, I was able to look at every single question. That's why the first set of questions I did were the DILR questions. The easiest in the entire 30 questions, 5 free questions, moved on, look at the remainder. So I think that's a big factor. Now, one thing I do want to note, this is my strategy. It's not necessary that my strategy will work for everyone. If you are someone who determines that a different strategy is better for you, or maybe looking at individual questions very strategically is a better idea, go for it. But understand what works for you and don't necessarily pick up what works for someone else. Take time, figure it out, and use it dedicatedly. VA, I believe I had an advantage. I was a reader from a very young age. I have to give my mother a lot of credit for that. She used to take me to the library, read a lot of books, and that kind of internalized a lot of vocabulary, a lot of grammatic rules within me. So when I was preparing for IPMAT, it was less about understanding the grammar of IPMAT. It was more about understanding the format of the questions itself so I could perform in that environment. But even there, I remember in the beginning of my prep, I was getting 110, 120. And slowly and steadily, you kind of learn a lot of concepts that you can apply repeatedly more and more and more often. And there comes a point where it becomes an intuition. Unlike QA, VA is not a game where you have exact determinants. You might believe that one option has to be the correct option, like I did very often, and turns out you're absolutely wrong. Sometimes you have no clue what's even going on. English is not a perfect language. It has weird rules, weird grammar, weird everything. So understanding and internalizing a lot of those concepts is very important. So for VA, I think that's the best kind of prospect you can take.
You said that you were an avid reader from the beginning, right? But let's say someone, I know it's a contrary question to ask you specifically, but let's say someone like me, I come from a family where we didn't speak in English, right? So I struggled a lot, right? My methods were more about volume practice and all. But let's say even if someone who is currently in class 11th or 12th, let's say, do you think you can add on to that? Like, how can a person should he or she pick up with reading every day? Does that help? Or any particular thing that you would like to share about ki, actually, if I can become an avid reader from my childhood, it's not such a different job to even start reading from the day when that person is looking this video, right?
Yeah.
And does that create a difference? Because it's a very contrary advice that I keep on giving students is कि यार एक काम करो, at least reading तो start करो, आप अभी से reading start करो, reading करो, and then फिर मुझे पता होता है कि यार I understand कि time gap बहुत कम है, आप practice करो पर reading करते रहो. What do you think? I really want to know this insight from you कि reading कितना करना चाहिए, क्या help होता है?
Reading, without a doubt, without a speckle of any kind of hesitation in my voice, I can say with a guarantee, no matter what you are doing, IPMAT, JEE, kuch bhi karo, read karo. I think I remember being in one of your classes and hearing this as well, and I looked at some of the comments that were going through, and I realized that for a lot of people, in especially 11, 12, when they hear reading, they are thinking about massive philosophy books, newspapers, editorials, articles written for business executives and things like those. In reality, you don't have to start there. Read Geronimo Stilton. No one's stopping you. Read anything. The biggest part about reading is that it is a repetitive task. It's not a task that's one and done. If you start from a very basic level, read romance books if you want to. Read something every day, simple, enjoyable, and later on, once it's a habit that's developed within you, you can pick up harder things, maybe editorials, like mentioned. Newspapers and for GK are, of course, absolutely vital, but that's not necessarily the best starting point. Pick something up, anything, but pick it up, try, understand, learn, and from there, it's a launching pad. And other than just reading, I think for VA, another very important skill is practicing. Within the IPMAT spectrum itself, because you have a limited number of the types of questions that you can have. However, on those questions itself, there are a lot of different probabilities, things that can change. We had 2025 paper in which a conversation came out of nowhere, right? That's something that was a surprise for a lot of students. So you can mix and match a lot of ideas, but those ideas, the generalist concept will be the same. Practice and understand the formats. Once you understand the boundaries within which you're playing the game, then you can start experimenting, start seeing what you're good at, what you're weak at. For instance, I was really good at RCs. So RCs never gave me trouble and I always knew RC है, अच्छे से marks मिल जाएंगे, चलो दूसरी चीजें करते हैं. Same time, I was terrible at para jump, really bad. But at a point, I gave up. I said कि ये उतना risk नहीं लेना चाहिए. Negative marking है, एक point पे RC नहीं आ रहा है, so we'll do what we think is attemptable. If it looks easy and doable, let's go for it. Let's not take excessive risks.
Fair point, fair point. So again, as I mentioned, please read every day. I don't want to reiterate it again. So let's carry the conversation ahead. We've got a good insights about how you went on to each section, how you prepared, how you actually attempted the paper as well. You mentioned how your strategy was. So one thing is mock analysis part. People struggle a lot. We don't understand what basically an analysis means, right? You did even mention at certain places that how you used to look at mocks and all, and how you try to do, even when you said that you solved the easiest also, you solved the hardest one also. But what should be the insight that you try to get out after that easy or the hard one?
I'll go about my process first. I had a pyramid of sorts that I went about. So bottom most was the questions that I got wrong. So these are questions that I spent time with, I spent effort trying to solve, and then I ended up getting wrong nonetheless. Those were the ones that I had to attack first. Second were the ones that I did not attempt at all. So these could be ones that I did not understand conceptually, mathematically, or just something that I thought was so beyond my means that I didn't even bother reading the question. And thirdly were the questions I got right. So I'll get to all three of them. First and foremost, questions I got wrong. In IPMAT, especially for MCQ and VA, there is negative marking, which is a big deal. Most people see +4 minus 1. I remember seeing it as +4 minus 5. Because not only are you losing the 1 mark that you're getting negative, you're losing the opportunity of the 4 marks you could have gotten. So for me, that was a big deal. Understanding why, where, how you went wrong is the most important thing. It's okay if you skip a question. It's not okay if you end up wasting your time and then get it wrong. Time is a very, very, very limited resource during your IPMAT preparation as well as the exam itself. So you have to use it very wisely. Number 2 is the unattempted questions. As I mentioned, the strategies that I used to vary a lot. I used to experiment, see what worked, see what didn't work. And that ended up with me leaving out a lot of questions. So I try to look at the patterns. If I'm leaving out a lot of questions from a certain concept, for instance, I was a applied math student. We didn't have trig, and I was always a little bit scared of trig. कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा, ये यहाँ से जा रहा है, वो वहाँ से जा रहा है, ये क्या बता रहे हैं हमें. So I used to look at the questions I skipped, and then I used to think, okay, I have a timer, I have the calculator, I have a pen and paper. Let's see if I had to solve it, how much time I would take. Using that, I ended up seeing a lot of specific notations. Okay, a lot of these questions carries the same kind of ideas. If I see a question like this in another mock, I should do it nonetheless, even if it's a concept I'm uncomfortable with. In the actual IPMAT exam, something very similar happened. I saw a question of a topic that I was uncomfortable with, realized that it's very similar to a question I remember doing from a mock months ago. And I said, dekh lete hai. 30 seconds, +4 marks, moved on. So something like that is very important, and without analysis, not possible. And lastly is the questions you get correct. In IPMAT, getting something correct is not enough. You have, for instance, in the MCQ section, again, 30 questions, 40 minutes. You need to be fast. Now, I remember I used to spend a lot of time on very few questions, get 100% accuracy, felt great about myself, ended up looking at the marks, 150. I thought I did great. I got 100% accuracy. Where are all of my marks gone? I realized I'm spending 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes on the most basic level of questions. And I can't be that risk averse. So I ended up looking at the questions I got correct, see the intended solution, look at the solution I had, and then find steps to skip. That itna likhne ki zarurat nahi hai, dimag mein kar lo. Or maybe this is not important at all. Why am I even looking at this part of the question? Let's just look at the important aspects. So analysis for me look like this.
That's great. Great insights about going through the questions that you're not even this is one thing that I keep on repeating again and again. And Pratyushraj has have put it in such an accurate way that understandable. आपको कुछ topics अच्छे नहीं लगते, कुछ topics आपके लिए weak है. Obviously हो सकता है कुछ topics आपको पसंद नहीं होते, but not every question of that topic will be that you can't do. He could figure out a certain pattern in certain type of question, and those could be a +4 marks. And a +4 marks in an actual examination creates a world of difference, right? Yeah. So that's what you have to see. Though don't come into that love-hate relationship of that I won't do these chapters at all. I would do just these chapters. Instead, do everything. Okay, understandable. Some will be strengths. Some topics which are uncomfortable. At least solve those sums without the timer. With when you are not writing it in a mock format. Perfect advice. Let's carry it towards what happened during your interview. So some things like in your other interviews also, someone asked you something like, do you have a girlfriend? Yeah. And why don't you share all the students that why do you not have a girlfriend? So do you have a girlfriend? Okay, I won't be okay. It's understandable.
अभी तो इंदौर जा रहा हूँ, अभी तो नहीं है. Let's see how the future.
अभी नहीं. Okay, understandable. ठीक, I understand what your aim in your IIM Indore is. पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दे. Anyway, let's talk about your interview. What happened and which interview was the faculty asking you this? Share it with students.
The girlfriend question actually came from the dean of IIM Kozhikode's BMS program. Okay. And it was I was so confused. I entered the room. I remember sitting outside. I was reading India's inflation rate. I was reading about the recent trade deals. I was talking to people about, amazing economic concepts and all of these things. I entered the room. I said, "Girlfriend hai kya?" Like, "Yeah, ye kahan se pahunch gaye, sir?" The biggest factor about the Code interview that I realized was, and even other interviews in general, is you're going to prepare 100 things. You're going to take 90 of them in the room with you. You're going to forget 10 of them anyways. 90 of them you have in hand within the room. You're going to end up using 3. Only 3. So the months of prep that you do for your interview are only for those 3 things. The only big problem is you don't know what those 3 things are. For instance, I did a lot of GK, a lot of current affairs, newspapers, obviously. I was writing down the name of every single minister, CM, looking at the past CMs of my own state, all of this research. Not a single question I was asked about any of these things. So you could say that I wasted my time. I ended up, not even utilizing all of this information. But I also talked to people who were asked those things. So the security is worth the investment in time. As for my interview preparation, broken down into a few segments. Number 1 was HR, number 2 was GK, 3 was current affairs, and 4th was academics. The biggest and the most important for Indore specifically, IIM Indore's interview is the 4th part, academics. As a dropper, it was slightly more difficult for me. It was a year plus that I hadn't touched some of these concepts, and I was already weak at some of the concepts even in my 12th grade. So it was hard enough that coming back a year later and having to redo all of these things. But taking the time out and understanding the critical points. So again, a lot of help I got from AceIPM. For GK and current affairs, a lot of things were boiled down. I wasn't sure where to start, but we had live classes, we had these PPTs that broke down the most essential information that we had to know no matter what. Additionally, one of the best helps that any candidate, any aspirant can take are transcripts. Transcripts help me so much. And in all honesty, I believe the only reason I got All India 6 was because of one question that they asked me in the interview. They asked me to prove that there are infinite prime numbers. So there's a conjecture for the same. And I remember in 2023 or 24, another candidate was asked the exact same question and they did not know. I remember reading that transcript. I remember going on Google, searching it up, watching a video about this, and then saying, okay, theek hai, dekh lenge, moving on. And then I got the question and I was able to answer halfway through, and sir stopped me and he told me, okay, I understand, moved on. That must have gotten me so many points in the interview process itself. So transcripts are the experiences of real people who've gone through this process already. Learning and, as Isaac Newton says, standing on the shoulders of giants, right? So helped me a lot during this process.
Perfect. So, they're amazing advice. I don't need to even reiterate this at this point in time. I just want to know, what did you answer about the girlfriend thing?
I said, nahi hai, sir.
Nahi hai. Then what was his reply?
Kyun nahi hai? He asked me to justify not having a girlfriend. I said I wasn't focused on that right now. I was focused on my academic endeavors for the time being.
For the time being.
For the time being. You never know what the future
So if the professor would have said, would you make a girlfriend in IIM Code, what would have replied?
यार ये पूछा नहीं, सोचा नहीं, सोचना पड़ेगा एक सेकंड. Can I have a minute to think about it, sir?
But still, what would you think about it? But okay, I feel like professor's aim was to create a pressure, because that's the tendency, right? They ask you something that is not expected, and then they try to see how much is your energy you're losing. But you still managed it so well and answered almost every. And the fact that you are right now so good with your speaking skills also probably would have managed all the interviews very easily, which reflects the fact that you've got such a good rank. And let's move ahead. Gotten all the inputs around preparation as well as interview. Let's talk about since you had studied AceIPM for almost 3 years, part of AceIPM from last 3 years. But how had been your experience? Were we able to help you prepare better during your drop year? What was your experience first? What was your experience later? Tell us everything about it.
Okay. Just for a reflection of how much AceIPM helped me. I had AceIPM in 11th grade and 12th grade, which were my initial years of study. And even after taking a drop year, I enrolled into AceIPM again. So my entire IPMAT journey, AceIPM has been there, Swapnil Bhaiya has been there, and all of the other incredible teachers at AceIPM have always been there for me. Speaking about the specifics themselves, I think for someone like me, I remember in 11th and 12th, I had a very hectic schedule. I was in school a lot longer than most students because of the extracurriculars that I had. And then even at home, I had other things to deal with. And I would end up getting free at very odd times. We had live classes, and sometimes I used to get an opportunity to be a part of those, but I used to miss a lot of them, unfortunately. Best thing was that I had recorded lectures to always catch up on. That was a massive help. And even in my drop year then, I had the entire day to myself, right? I woke up whenever I wanted to. I had XYZ amount of hours to prepare. If I was embedded in a offline course or a stricter program without flexible routines, I would have had to study these specific amounts of hours and I had nothing else to do. AceIPM didn't bound me to those things at all. I could go back to the topics that I found difficult. I ended up doing the trigonometry section of prep 4 different times. So I've seen every single lecture and done every single question 4 times. Just because I was really bad at it. So I ended up doing it so many times that I got pretty decent by the end. On the other hand, I was already very comfortable with things like interest and different loans and those parts of prep and the entire subject because I had them in school already. So I looked at it once, saw the curriculum, saw the questions, practiced it once, saw that I was good at it. I was like, okay, I don't need to do this again. That's the biggest help that I found at AceIPM. That the flexibility offered me to specify what I needed as per my requirements, tailor it to my needs, and move on from there. And secondly, and what I am 100% sure a lot of aspirants will look forward to and will help them is just how available the faculty actually is. Whether that is questions, queries, stupid doubts about the IPM program, stories at 2-3 a.m. as well. These things matter. They actually really do, because in the entire journey of a competitive exam, you don't realize, but there are a lot of tiny details that some people don't even care about. Some people try to gloss over. And I've been a part of different institutes, and I've had positive, negative experiences different places as well. But AceIPM has never let me down once. Whether that be, as I mentioned, the PPTs and the live classes during our interview time, whether that be all of the extra classes, the marathon sessions. Oh, I love the marathon sessions. I cannot praise them enough. They develop your accuracy, your speed to such a great extent, and you've always been there for those. You've always been with the students. I don't know how. You worked endlessly. But AceIPM, I don't think I could have done it without AceIPM. मैं 500 रुपए लूँगा, don't worry. But in all seriousness, in all genuine speeds, it was an absolutely amazing time I had with the faculty, with learning, with experiencing, and I'm very happy where I am because of that.
Thank you so much. Like, actually, I'm overwhelmed and happy. Really liked all the, I don't know what great things. What a great, your accent is so good. I whatever you're speaking, right? Something feels like you're speaking something smart. 50% of the things I'm not able to understand, but like, yes, he's saying something smart.
कुछ तो सही बोल रहा है, कुछ तो सही बोल रहा है.
That's a great accent. Will be very helpful in getting great ranks in college also. But yeah, thank you so much.
Of course.
And thank you for all the input that you've given to students. Your insights, your change in journey was very insightful and an amazing conversation. Super smart guy. And he's a very smart guy. Very smart guy. Interacting with him keeps on giving me that more impression that such a great fellow. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you guys. In case the traditional follow-up, please like, subscribe and comment down below. And in case you are preparing for IPMAT, we are also starting our droppers batch soon. You can check that out, called Aspire Batch. Check the link below, or you can book a free counseling session. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Best of luck.
Best of luck. Yes.
Ready to ace IPM? Get started by going on aceipm.com, and over there you'll see a free counseling button. You need to click on that and enter all your details so that one of your future seniors can get in touch with you and clarify all your queries about IPM and AceIPM. Thank you.